Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video we're going to learn how to crochet a rectangular sleeveless jacket, and I'm going to be using a 100% acrylic yarn. Just because it is rectangular, we can choose any stitch that we like, easy or difficult, because for this design we won't have to make any increases or decreases. The only thing that we're going to have to make are the armholes. Other than that, we're going to have a straight piece from the beginning to the end. Because I usually get the question, how many stitches should I start my project with for different ages? What we need to know is that the amount of our beginning chain varies from project to project because it depends on the thickness of the yarn, the crochet hook, and the way that we crochet. That's why I always try to give measurements. The measurements that we need to know are the armhole, so we measure from our shoulder to our armpit, make it a little big because this piece will be worn on top of other clothes, so we're gonna need that extra space. The distance between shoulder to shoulder, the perimeter of the stomach, and the total length of your back, which is how long you will want your jacket to be. In this case, the armhole is 25 centimeters. The distance between the shoulders is 45 centimeters. The perimeter of the stomach is 115 centimeters. The total back length is 80 centimeters, which is the distance. So this distance covers up to our lower back. You can choose to make your jacket up to your knees or longer or a little shorter. Depends it depends how you like it. So starting with our total chain length, we always want it to be equal to the total back length because the project is worked from the top to the bottom. This way our armholes are going to be created in the right direction, because if you work your jacket from left to right, your armholes are going to be horizontal instead of vertical. So as I said, my total chain is 80 centimeters, which turned out to be 104 chains, from which I will have a total of 102 double crochets, and this 102 double crochets are going to be split. So 51 double crochet will be done with the lighter gray, and 51 double crochet will be done with darker gray, because you can wear this jacket both ways. You can have the lighter gray on the top or the dark gray on the top, depending on what color are your clothes. And since the perimeter of the stomach is 115 centimeters, I will divide that by 2, and the result is 57.5. That means that I'm going to use those 57.5 for the back of my jacket, and the rest 57.5 I will use for both of the two front pieces, so I will have to divide it by 2 again to get the right number. But because the distance of the shoulder is 45 centimeters, I'm going to make the total back width somewhere in the middle of 45 and 57.5. So I'm going to make the total back width about 50 centimeters. So when I subtract 50 from 115, which was the perimeter of the stomach, I have a total of 65 centimeters to use for the two front pieces. Each piece is going to be 32.5 centimeters. You can make these two front pieces longer if you like. That means that these pieces will hang down from the jacket, which will look pretty nice. It depends how you like it, but you want it to be pretty long because we want each piece to overlap. We want the two pieces to overlap each other. So let's see how we're gonna start our work. So as I said in the beginning, I'm using a 100% acrylic yarn, and I'm going to work with a 5mm crochet hook. Because the beginning project is too big for me to show all the stitches, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in a smaller scale. Instead of showing you in the 102 stitches how to work the piece, I'm going to show you a smaller scale, and we're going to start with a chain. We're going to start with 12 chains. So in this case we're going to have 10 double crochet, which 5 of them I'm going to work with a lighter gray and 5 of them I'm going to work with a dark gray. So start with our beginning knot. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So from those 12 chains, we're going to have a total of 10 double crochet. So now we're going to count 4 chains, from which the first 3 are going to be our first double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And in that 4th chain from the hook, we're going to make our first double crochet. So the first 3 chains and this double crochet that we just made gives us the first 2 double crochet. So we want to make 3 more with the lighter gray. Three, 4, and this is my 5th double crochet, at which we're going to change our colors. So we make half of the double crochet. If we were going to make it regularly, we would grab the yarn and pull the last 2 loops. So in this case, because we're going to work with a different color, we're going to crochet the last 2 loops with a new color, so we're attaching it. And on every row that we want to change colors, we're going to make the last double crochet, the last 2 loops of the last double crochet with a new color. So I just grab the dark gray and pull the last 2 loops of my double crochet. So now I'm going to do my last 5 double crochet with a dark gray yarn. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 are with a lighter gray and 5 stitches are with the darker gray color. So chain 1 and turn our work. So for this project, every first and last stitch are going to be half double crochet. So my first stitch is a half double crochet, and now the second stitch we're going to work a front post double crochet. So take your hook from the front to the back and to the front again. So you're pulling out your pulling to the front the double crochet and make a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet, and that's how we're going to be working our rows from the beginning to the end. One stitch is going to be a front post, the next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet. So this next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. Take your hook from the front to the back and to the front again and pull out your double crochet. You want to pull it to the front and make a double crochet. So we have a total of 4 so far, and this is our last stitch with our dark gray, and it's going to be a regular double crochet. So grab the yarn and pull the first 2 loops, and the last 2 loops we're going to change our color and we're going to use the lighter gray. So pull, wrap the yarn around and pull the last 2 loops with the lighter gray. So because we made a regular double crochet our previous stitch, now we're going to make a front post double crochet. So take your hook from the front to the back and to the front again, and make a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet. Next stitch is going to be a front post, and that's our third stitch. The next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet, and then that's total 4, and then our last stitch, which is the chain 3 that we use to turn our work in the beginning, is going to be our last stitch, and that's going to be a half double crochet. So we're using half double crochets in the beginning and at the end because the total height of those stitches, because they're front posts, decreases. So in order for the design to look right for the pattern, we make the front and last stitches half double crochets. So now we've chained 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and my first stitch is going to be a half double crochet. Now this side that we're looking at is the wrong side of the project. So in this row we're going to be making back posts on every, see here, this is the right side of the project, which is, they all look as front posts, and on every front post that I make on the next row, it's going to be a regular single crochet, and for every regular single crochet it's going to be a front post. So in this row, because it's the wrong side and we want the front side of my work to look nice, we're going to be working back posts. So on every regular double crochet I'm going to make 1 back post double crochet. So I'm going to take my hook from the back to the front and to the back again, so I'm pulling back the double crochets, and I'm going to make 1 double crochet. And the next stitch on the previous row it was the front post. In this row it seems as if it's a back post, so I'm going to make a regular double crochet. The next stitch is a regular double crochet, so I'm going to make a back post. And the next stitch, it was a front post on the previous row. In this row it seems as it's a back post, so I'm going to make a regular double crochet. But it's also the stitch that we're changing colors. So wrap the yarn, pull through 2 loops, and the last 2 loops I'm going to bring up my darker gray, and I'm going to pull the last 2 loops with a dark gray yarn. And since we made a regular double crochet on the previous stitch, now we're going to make a back post double crochet, my first dark gray stitch. And make a double crochet. The next stitch is a back post, so in this row I'm going to make a regular double crochet, and it's my second stitch. My third stitch is a regular double crochet, so I'm going to make a back post double crochet. The next stitch is a back post, so in this row I'm going to make a regular double crochet. And the next stitch is my last stitch, so it's a half double crochet. Chain 1 and turn the work. The first stitch is a half double crochet. So the first and last stitches are always going to be half double crochets. The next stitch is a regular double crochet, so in this row I'm going to make a front post double crochet. Because now we're looking on the right side of our work. It's the front side. The next stitch is a front post double crochet, so in this row I'm going to make a regular double crochet. And it's my third stitch. The fourth stitch is a regular double crochet, so in this row I'm going to make a front post double crochet. The next stitch, which is the fifth stitch, is a front post double crochet, so in this row I'm going to make a regular double crochet. So wrap the yarn around and pull the first 2 loops, and the last 2 loops I'm going to change the color, so I'm going to wrap the yarn around with a lighter gray and pull the last 2 loops. So since the previous stitch was a regular double crochet, in this row I'm going to make the first stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet. The third stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a regular double crochet. And the last stitch is my half double crochet. So that's the pattern that I'm going to use from the beginning to the end of my project. The front rows are always going to be front posts, and when you turn the work on the back, you're always going to be working a back post. And the stitches are going to be 1 front post, 1 regular double crochet, 1 front post, 1 regular double crochet. So that's going to give you a wavy variation of the double crochet stitches. And if you're making this, if you're making the design half and half as I'm doing it, you want the middle where we change the colors, the line right there is going to be straight from the beginning to the end. If you see that the line starts going a little left, a little to the right, that means that you're not making your stitches correctly. So you always want to count your stitches on your work. So on this, so this is the big piece, and I have completed the first front piece. So this project, for any size that you make it, because we're working it from top to bottom, that means that the first piece that you make is the front piece of the jacket. Then you make the armhole, and then you're working on the back side of your jacket, and after the second armhole you're going to be working on the second front piece. So because my the total armhole is supposed to be 25 centimeters, I took my measuring tape and I measured 25 centimeters on my work, and it came out to 32 total stitches. So because I want my jacket to be half and half so I can wear it both sides, I'm taking half of the 32 on the lighter gray and half of this 32 on the dark gray. So I'm going to take 16 stitches from the lighter gray and the other 16 stitches from the dark gray. And what we want to do is we're going to start the work, and then I'm going to make the chain, and then I'm going to continue the jacket. So we'll see in a little bit how we're going to work on the armhole. It's pretty easy. Just because the work is rectangular, that means that the amount of stitches that I'm going to have on the chain are going to be the same amount of stitches that I'm going to work on the chain on the next row. So we're going to keep the same design, and the jacket won't change from the beginning to the end. It's going to look exactly the same. So let's start, and we're gonna see how we're gonna make the armhole now. So like I said before, I'm measuring with my measuring tape, so we can see how many stitches are the total of 25 centimeters that I want to cover, and it came out to 32 centimeters. 32 stitches, sorry. So I'm taking 16 stitches from the dark gray and the next 16 stitches from the lighter gray. This way the jacket can be worn on both sides. You can have the dark gray on the top or the lighter gray on the top. So what we want to do is I'm going to make over those 32 stitches, I'm going to make a chain of 32, and I'm going to crochet on, I'm going to count 32 stitches from below, and I'm going to skip those 32 stitches, and I'm going to continue crocheting from the 33rd stitch. This way, and that's how you're going to do it on any stitch that you pick. So let's start, and we're going to see how it's going to be worked. So I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to start with my half double crochet, and I'm working a little faster now because we know how the stitches worked. So because I'm going to take the 16 stitches for the armhole, that means that I'm going to make 35 stitches now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and my last stitch before I make my chain, 35. From now I'm gonna start making my armhole, so I'm gonna make the chains. So I'm gonna make 16 chains with the dark gray and then next 16 chains with the lighter gray, because I want the armhole to be a total of 25 centimeters, and the 25 centimeters came out to be 32 stitches. So I'm gonna start making my chain now, and I'm gonna make 16 chains with the dark gray. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the lighter gray and I'm just going to grab the yarn and pull it through the loop and tighten up the darker gray. And I'm going to make 16 chains with the lighter gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 chains. So by making 16 dark gray and 16 lighter gray, I'm keeping my pattern exactly the same way as it was before on the previous rows. So I'm going to count 32 stitches from my work. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 6, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Oh, that was the 32nd stitch, sorry. It's a voiceover, so it's a little difficult when I'm going faster. So that was a total of 32 stitches. I made 32 chains, which is 32 stitches. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start crocheting from the 33rd stitch. This way, I'm gonna have the same exact stitches on every row. So when you put your crochet hook in your stitch, you're continuing the pattern from for the rows. So if it was a double crochet, a front post, a back post double crochet on the previous row, you're starting with a regular double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35. So this it was supposed to be a total of 35 stitches, but that means that I made a mistake somewhere. I'm gonna have more stitches than I'm supposed to. So by counting the stitches, I realized that instead of crocheting my first stitch after the chains in the 33rd stitch, I made my first double crochet on the 32nd stitch, which gives me an extra stitch on the row. So you always want to count your work, because if not, you're gonna have mistakes. So that's why I left this part and I didn't cut it out. So you can see that if you do not count your work and you just let it be, so if I just left it like this and I didn't count, I would have an extra stitch on my lighter gray side. So as I said, my mistake was that instead of putting my hook on the 33rd stitch from the stitches below, I put my hook on the 32nd stitch. So because I have a total of 32 chains, I'm supposed to skip the 32 stitches on the previous row and start crocheting from the 33rd stitch. So any pattern, any stitch that you choose, you need to be careful. You have to count and try to start your chains from where the design stops in, so you won't get confused. So because the 33rd stitch was a regular double crochet, I'm making a back post to begin with. So that's my first stitch. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and my last stitch, the half double crochet, 35 plus the 16 with the lighter gray, we have the total of 51 stitches in this row again. So let's see how we're gonna work the next row and how we're gonna work over our chain stitches to create the armhole. It's pretty easy. So we chain 1, and start with my first stitch, which is the half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and the last stitch before we do our chain, that's my 35th double crochet, 35. So now we're going to do 1 double crochet on each of the next 16 stitches. "36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and my last stitch 51. And this is the stitch where I'm gonna change my colors. So what I'm gonna do now to secure those strands of yarn, because we attached the yarn on the chain, so I'm just tying a knot to secure them. So my 51st stitch, I have already completed half of the double crochet. So now I'm gonna pull up the dark gray and I'm gonna change the colors. So I'm gonna make the rest of the 51 stitches with a darker gray. So I'm gonna make one stitch on every chain for the next of the for each one of the next 16 stitches. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and this is the last chain stitch, 16, and I'm going to continue making the pattern. So the next stitch is a regular double crochet, so I'm going to make a front post double crochet. And continue counting. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, sorry, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and my last stitch, the half double crochet, 51. So we saw how even though I made the armhole, even though I made the chains, my pattern has remained exactly the same. The middle where I split my colors is exactly in the same spot before I made the armhole and after the armhole. We want the same exact pattern to remain the way it is. So any stitch that you choose, that's how you do it. You're gonna leave the right amount of stitches, depending on the stitch and the multiples that you're gonna have. If you choose a more difficult stitch, you might wanna be aware of the multiples. So the chains that you leave on your armhole are the right multiples. So the pattern starts from the beginning of your chain and ends at the end of your chain. So that way you won't get confused. But I think that even if you don't be aware of the multiples, that it will come out right anyway. So I'm gonna start my next row, and the from this row on, now we're gonna be making the back side of our jacket. So from the first row after our chains, we have started creating the back side of our jacket. So I've chained one, my first stitch is the half double crochet, and now I'm working back posts. So that's my second stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And now, even though they're regular double crochets, I'm going to keep doing the same pattern. So one stitch is going to be a back post, one stitch is going to be a regular double crochet. So since I made a regular double crochet right now, I'm going to do back post on the next stitch. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and our last stitch for the dark gray, 51. So the last two loops of the double crochet will be made with the lighter gray yarn. And since I just made a regular double crochet, the first stitch with my lighter gray is going to be a back post double crochet. So we're trying to keep the pattern so the pattern doesn't change at all for all the rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 50, 41, sorry, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and my last stitch 51. Chain 1, and you're going to turn the work. And now from now on, this is the back side of my jacket. So what I'm going to do is off camera I'm going to work the rest of the 50 centimeters off camera, and when I've completed the 50 centimeters, which is the back of my jacket, I'm going to turn on back my camera and I'm going to make the second armhole. Even though it's the same exact thing, we're still going to do it on camera, and then we're going to see how we're going to complete our jacket and how we're going to work around 2 rows to help our work look better. Plus we're going to see how we're going to crochet around our 1 row of stitches on our armholes, so our work looks better. So see you on the next video.